So what's up, guys? Welcome back to season 2, episode 2 of the Soul Rising podcast.
Yes, we're so glad to have you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. As you guys can see, we're like evolving. I'm gonna try to not say like so much like I just did. Definitely right video.
I mean, right?
Yeah. You guys know we say this a lot. We're working on it. But we're progressing and moving on to like our second season here. And we are so thrilled to have you all.
Yes.
We are bringing in the visual piece.
Welcome to the makeshift studio in Amanda's living room.
Yes.
Or whatever you call it.
Absolutely.
We hope you like it. We've done our best to set it up.
We have.
Lighting.
We're working through it. Yes. You should see all the professional lighting
Yeah,
in here. They're amazing.
We have shit like propped up.
Yes.
That's the word.
Yes.
Propped up on like music stands.
We do. We have
ottomans.
sit here with no lampshades.
Yeah.
It's
no lampshades.
very advanced lighting and film production. So we're glad you're here, guys.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
So today we're going to be talking about a Buddhist philosophy. There's no actual name for it. It's just 3 questions to ask yourself. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary when you're talking to somebody, when you're trying to communicate? So are you considering how your words and actions are affecting others? Or do you feel like, well, somebody's got to say it.
Right.
Why not me? Right? Like, they need to know. They need to know this.
If I'm not going to be truthful with them, no one is. And
Exactly.
I'm just going to be brutally honest.
Yes. Oh, man, we're going to get to the brutal honesty thing.
Yes.
And do you, this other part of this is like, do you feel like you always have to have an opinion? Like to every single world issue. Every time you flip open your phone and you find out the next situation, tragedy, storyline, whatever, do you feel like you have to
Jump
have an
in.
opinion? Yeah. And jump into the conversation?
It's almost, it feels like it's become some, which is why I love so much that you wrote a blog on this and that you did write a blog on this, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes. And that we're digging into it because it feels like we live in a world right now where it's almost our way to connect with each other is how can we jump in and put gasoline on a fire, talk about some insane situation that's happening. And also, I need to feel good about myself and what I'm saying matters so much. So I'm going to make sure you hear it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah, and I don't care.
Soapbox.
I don't care how it affects anybody because they need to hear it. And some things definitely need to be said. Don't get us wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We have voices, right? Like we are given voices, we're given brains, we're given the ability to communicate, and we are living in a time when to not speak up sometimes can do more detriment.
Absolutely.
Can be worse.
However, I think
I think we also
I think we also live in a time where every single one of us has the ability to be, whether it be through social media, whether it be our own, whatever, the channel might be. We've had this sense of
entitlement.
And you're going to hear what I have to say on my Facebook post or my Instagram post, whatever it might be. And also I'm going to just come at it with no thought because you need to hear what I'm going to say.
And everybody's an expert. Everybody's an expert.
Yes.
You see a post, right?
University of Facebook knowledge.
Yeah. And we take it at face value and we believe it. We believe what we're seeing because so-and-so, whoever that so-and-so is that you respect, admire, and maybe, on a past situation has been quote unquote right or has, made a lot of sense and you've agreed and it's been good. But maybe this next thing, you're just agreeing because you like that person and you're not really thinking, wait a minute,
Is
that true for me? Is that true? And that's where the first question of this Buddhist philosophy comes in. Is it true? Is it true? Very often, when I'm going through this, yes, I can say it's true. And I don't always check what I say through this filter. I wish I did more often.
I need to a little more.
But is it true? Typically, it's true for me. If I feel like I need to say something, typically it's true for me.
Right.
Is it kind? I worked on that skill for a long time. It's a skill to be honed, to be able to say what needs to be said and to say it with kindness and with compassion and with grace and love and all that jazz.
Yes.
That is a skill to be honed. And I think that I've done that through my recovery work, working with, other women.
Yes.
I try to phrase things in a way that they're going to be able to hear it, right? So like, am I saying things just because I need to say it or they need to know? Or am I saying it through the lens and the filter of how are they going to best hear it? Because what's the point of saying something if if they're going to get defensive, if they're not going to
Exactly.
be able to hear it?
Well, it's almost, are we saying something from a place of having it be beneficial and helpful to that person, or is it beneficial and helpful to me?
Yes. So we're
Yeah.
functioning from a place of self-centeredness and selfishness.
Yes.
I have to get this off my chest, right? Without
Right.
thinking about how the other person is going to feel.
Right.
So
How's it going to feel when I finally unleash on you? I'm going to feel better.
I'm going
No.
to feel better, but usually momentarily, right? Usually the unleashing or
Yes.
the, just spouting off at the mouth and not caring what anybody thinks and what it's nasty or mean is usually going to come back to haunt you at some point. So it's still
Absolutely.
temporary. But are you really thinking about how this is affecting other people? If you're looking to really make a change out in the world,
Which is why we're here doing this to begin with.
and which is why you feel the need to voice your opinion,
Yes.
right? Because I feel like I want to affect change in a positive way, and I want to bring some healing, and I want this situation to be over and to be better, right?
Yes.
I don't think many of us are out there, saying things with the intention to make it worse. I don't. There are definitely some problem starters, right? There are people who are troublemakers, problems, whatever. They're looking to entice,
Yes.
incite, not entice, incite.
Yes.
And there are people like that. But I tend to lean on the side of giving people, a little bit of grace and believing that people do have good hearts, right? I have to believe that if I want to continue getting up every day,
Right.
getting dressed and going out in the world.
Absolutely.
So if you're intending to do that, if you're trying to make a positive influence on the world, it would behoove you, my favorite words, behoove you to consider how what you're saying is affecting other people.
Right. Not just how it's going to feel for you to release it, but how is it going to help build anything positive in your environment or in the situation? Is it going to help build or change this situation for the person you're handing it to? Are you trying to really genuinely
What's your motive?
build something? What's your motive? Exactly. You trying to build something better, or are you just trying to feel more powerful in unleashing words on someone?
Am I trying to tell you how it is because I'm right and you're wrong? Now, listen, being right, feels really good,
It does.
right? Like,
Especially when someone's like, you're wrong. And then you go through the whole process of, oh, really? I'm going to prove it to you that I'm right. And then you do so. There's almost this sense of victory.
and it's a chemical release. We talk so much. If you've listened to any of our shows,
Yes.
if you haven't, go back and check out season 1. There's a lot of good stuff there. It's only audio. We just started video this season, but there's a lot of good stuff in there about how everything that we do, everything as human beings, is driven by chemicals.
Yes.
Everything. So when I'm right,
Fascinating.
setting off that ego is going to drop some kind of adrenaline or dopamine or whatever it is.
Yes.
And we like that and we're addicted to it. And the whole social media and everybody being experts and being able to, just say whatever you want is really taking advantage. It's really a way for the powers that be. We have like a whole episode on this, by the way.
Yes.
They've tapped into that addictive piece. And
From just about every aspect.
yeah. So when we're, trying to prove ourselves, right? Because the majority of the time when I'm saying something at the onset, like my initial response, I do a lot of this delete. I do a lot of that. Okay. My initial response, is for that hit of I want to be right and I'm going to just show you how it is. And if I can run it through that check of is it true? Okay, maybe. Is it kind? I could probably reframe that so that it's kind. Is it necessary?
Is it necessary is the big.
That's the one that I get caught up on. Is it necessary?
Absolutely. Because most of the time, it's probably not.
The majority of the time, it's not. Ask yourself, does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? And does it need to be said right now?
At this
Usually,
heated moment or at this emotionally charged moment.
like
It's
you're
right
sitting
now.
around the dinner table. We just had Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
How many of you are not speaking to family members after Thanksgiving dinner?
Oh my gosh.
I bet there's,
At least a few.
and Christmas is coming.
Yes.
And you're going to be around that dinner table maybe with those same people that you just had a really uncomfortable interchange with at Thanksgiving, right?
Mhm.
So we're trying to give you some tips and tools and tricks up your sleeve,
Right.
for when you're feeling, what's the word I'm looking for? You're feeling like you have to say something. You're feeling
Obligated.
you're set off. You're set off.
So you're set off.
You're like set off, and you feel a rise in your stomach. Like, I cannot believe Uncle Joe just said that.
Uncle Joe will wreck a party, by the way.
Uncle Joe's been here before.
Yes.
We brought Uncle Joe back. What was that, Uncle Joe episode 1?
I think it was episode.
And Aunt Mary?
Yes. Uncle Joe and Aunt Mary.
There's Leah. They just said that. Oh,
Right.
my God, my
And
blood is
often-
boiling.
And often around politics, and especially
Yeah.
right now, because we all know we've got
Yeah.
2 or 3 more wonderfully gigantic, like flaming situations within our political world, in our world in general, regarding political views. And everybody is extremely emotionally charged from one side of it or the other. We all know this. I don't even need to talk about what they are. We know exactly how each of us we're standing in the position. When someone else says, well, I really kind of feel like they should have been doing it this way.
Yeah.
What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, then like if you do feel the need to speak up, which we said sometimes we need to. You know, I don't really believe the whole silence is violence, silence is condoning. I don't necessarily believe that. I think that, you know, we're very pressured at times to
Right.
speak up on things and but we know nothing about, right?
Which
It
helps
is more
nobody.
detrimental.
It helps nobody.
So if you want to speak up, educate yourself.
Yes.
Educate yourself.
And listen to other people. Listen and
Learn.
listen to both sides.
Listen, learn,
Right.
and be able to go sit at that table and have an intelligent conversation where you're not just boom, 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 boom. You're actually laying on some kind of facts, some
Right.
kind of real, which is kind of hard to get. These
Not
days.
Facebook facts.
Exactly. Go on, read some Wall Street Journal articles, some New York Times articles, some, you know, what I don't even know. I don't even read a lot of news, so I don't know what's slanted today and what's not. I really don't know.
It's tough.
Press,
I
I
know.
feel like is good. And
Well-
1440, I think, is good.
Reuters, I've checked out. BBC.
BBC.
People who are not maybe, I don't know, reporting in our country. The other part about where this is fascinating and why I love that we're talking about it and I want to understand how we can implement it more too is because there is actual scenarios. We live in a world right now where people even say, well, I'm not going to read back even from the history of what happened because it's not written in truth. Like nothing is written in truth. And I know who think that history is not written correctly in one way or another. And I'm not saying that that's wrong or that they are wrong. However, in this world that we live in where we have just everything is so flammable, it's like having all this dry kindling around. Is it necessary for me to spark that one piece of conversation that's going to set it all ablaze? Is it really necessary right now to do that?
Do I need to do that right now in this while you know little cousin Susie is enjoying her apple pie? Do I
Yes.
need to now throw a match
And Uncle
down
Joe,
at Uncle Joe? Exactly. Do I need to blow the candle out?
right in his face.
Do I need to do something like that to like just totally annihilate the entire day and dinner for everybody else around me?
Right.
Because I cannot control my emotions and what I so emotionally charged. Listen, maybe later, the next day,
Right.
2 days later, you call up Uncle Joe
Right.
and you say, dude, like what you said really got me thinking.
Yeah.
And I feel, right? We use I statements is when we're trying to get somebody to hear us. We never use you did this, you did that, you're wrong, you're to blame, blah, blah, blah. What's going to happen? Imagine somebody doing that to you.
Right.
How are you going to react? You're going to shut down.
Absolutely. It's an immediate defense mechanism for us to shut down. You're not going to hear anything. And no one's going to hear you.
Exactly. So you're just wasting your breath. You get
Yes.
yourself all worked up. Most likely they're going to hang up the phone and be like, get that one, right?
Right.
And when you're going to carry it with you, you're just going to keep festering over it. Keep it in the I statement, you know, and if you do want to have that conversation after, and right in that moment, if you do feel like you just have to say something,
Yes.
I have a few favorite retorts, if you will.
Like go-to.
Yes.
Some go-to, pull it out of
Some-
your pocket.
Yes, some go-to statements that you
Responses.
can say is, the first one is, that's interesting.
That's so funny. One of my nephews, I love him. He was here for Thanksgiving, and he used that a lot.
Yeah,
He did it a lot, yes, with our mom who was bringing, and she was totally innocent in the situation, but she isn't always super tactful with how she comes out with words.
Yeah.
And he said, "Wow, that's really interesting."
That's interesting.
It actually caught my attention because I was like, "Oh, that was a good."
It's a good way to just, you're not agreeing, you're not disagreeing. You're giving them a little bit of credit by saying, wow, that's actually something to ponder, right? The next one could be, I didn't think of it that way.
I've never thought of it that way.
You know, you're
Like
not,
it.
you're not condoning. You're not, just because you're saying you haven't thought of it that way doesn't mean that you agree with them. That
That's
they're
true.
right. You're just saying, I haven't thought of it that way.
And they feel a sense of validation because you've heard. Because most of the time, that's all any of us is searching for, is to be heard anyway.
Totally.
It really is.
100%.
No matter what, we're just trying to be heard. We feel like whatever it is that we're feeling inside, we're just hoping that somebody, and it's validation, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Coming back to that.
Yeah.
We're just trying to be heard. So when you give somebody, or a moment, the gift of them being heard, it can diffuse the situation.
And let that drive your actions in these situations. So try to, like, the more you practice this, the more it will come, right? We're constantly carving these neural pathways.
Yes.
Think, how am I making that person feel? That's how I try to show up in places today. It's less about me needing to be heard, but how do I make that person feel when I leave them? How are they remembering me? What's the feeling that I gave them? That is going to boost my self-worth and my self-esteem. It's going to make me feel like a really good person, more than being right. Much more than being right. We just, those kinds of situations, feel good about myself.
Well, because they're longer lasting also. You know, they talk about, was it Maya Angelou that has the comment of people are going to remember what you did for them?
Probably.
But they're going to remember. Somebody who's a fantastic writer made the statement or the comment that people don't remember what you said or what you did with them. They remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's in every instance. That's, you know, and we have the opportunity every single day, anytime we engage with each other. We talk about this in our show quite a bit as well. But we have the opportunity to help bring out the best in somebody next to us. And when we do that, that just expands this evolution that we're all trying to do and move past this super dense, painful state that the world seems to be living in right now.
Yeah. Do you want to contribute to the division, or do you want to bridge connection? And are you willing to sacrifice what you need to say for the sake of that connection, for that healing energy to show up? Right? Do you want to heal the situation, or do you want to make it worse? That's the checking of your motive when you're about to say, you're wrong. That didn't happen. Blah, blah, blah. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what Ginny's talking about. That's exactly what we're trying to do with our show, with all the work that we're putting out into the world. And so many other people are putting out into the world.
Yes.
We're trying to rise above our own egoic self.
Our own fear. You know?
All goes back to fear.
It all goes back to fear.
Oh, man.
And it's fascinating that you hear people talking. You see it in a lot of different venues and in a lot of different spaces where people are really attempting. You'll hear people say faith over fear, or, you know, they have these things that they're really the mantras there, but are the actions there? And we forget that our words really are actions, because we're able to funnel so much emotional energy into a situation or onto a person with our words. So just because I'm not drop kicking you doesn't mean that I am not putting and enforcing some type of action with my word.
That's the brutal honesty part that can be very detrimental. And Don Miguel,
the Four Agreements. Oh, so good.
He talks about that, be impeccable with your word. And this also speaks to the throat chakra of people or chakra clearers out there.
I'd love to learn more. I do need to learn more about this.
It's about respecting the word and the power that the word has on the energy of the situation, of the world, of the collective, right? Whatever you're putting out on social media, whatever you're speaking face to face, whatever you're texting, whatever you're emailing, all leaves an energetic footprint. So we have to be very mindful of that. Another great response when you want to just, take the fork and just stab somebody is, I don't know enough about that particular situation to talk about it. That gets you way out of it. Pulls you right out of it. You shut it down immediately. I don't know enough about that to talk about it.
I haven't learned enough. It almost makes it to where you're putting the responsibility on yourself.
It's humble. It's a humble
It is
move. It's a humble thing to do, to say, I don't know. I don't know. And that brings us to another Buddhist concept that I love. It's called not knowing. Okay. Not the not knowing concept. So not knowing is just what it sounds like. It's based in humility, and it's basically saying, I don't know what the right answer is, right? And then you open yourself up to investigation. And by you telling other people, I don't know enough about it to talk about it, I don't know, they might start to consider, do I even know enough about this to be talking about it? Right? Because we're constant reflections of each other. Whatever you do and say, I think about myself, right?
Always.
Well, how am I? If they're doing that, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Whatever.
Yes.
So by taking the not knowing stance, it's very mature. It's very mature. And this really all comes back to, the immaturity and the emotional selfishness and the entitlement. This is what we're trying to raise people out of. Let your soul rise. Soul rising, soul rise, emotional evolution, soul ascension.
Yes.
It's getting out of these lower level, very
Ego-driven,
ego-driven,
heavier density,
immature reactions to life. Fearful. Exactly. So, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was going to say it doesn't necessarily, it has nothing to do with age, right? Or even the amount of experience we've all gone through. You could still have somebody who's 85 years old who their soul is still coming from a place and living from a place of lack or fear, where they feel that they have to be extremely defensive about an idea or a concept because, 75 years ago, it did maybe threaten their security or their life, or they did live through a war, or they did live through whatever the situation was. This work can be done by all of us, by any of us. It has nothing to do with the amount of time we've been on the earth or the amount of experiences we've gone through. That's not our emotional or our soul age, I guess. Enough what we're talking about.
I've seen some 18-year-olds,
yes,
50-year-olds that have more maturity in their pinky than some 65, 70-year-olds.
It's true.
That I know.
It's true.
So we talk about this a lot, having like a duty and an obligation to show up this way. Right? If you really want the world to change, if you're saying what you think you need to say because you're trying to affect some kind of change, the true change that you can make and the duty and the obligation that we have as human beings incarnated on the earth right now,
yes,
is to do this work, is to not say what you think needs to be said. Flip side of this.
Always a flip side.
Little devil's advocate.
Yes.
Or you avoid it.
I am. Yes. And that's
out of fear.
That's 100% something that I know me for myself. I'm someone who's much better about it now. But there's probably many times where I have avoided having or expressing in a way what the true feelings might be, or
what your needs
are. But that's a whole other
feeling.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a whole other set of.
But are you just not speaking up because you're clamming up and you're scared and you're fearful and you don't want to start a problem. So there's a way to speak in a way that you can get a point across without throwing the match on the Thanksgiving dinner table, right?
Yes.
Like there is a way that if you feel that you need to say what you need to say because your soul, because you're just one of those people that were put here on earth to be the change makers. We cannot be the change makers without using words. So we're not saying that you should be like mute, silent, don't say anything to keep the peace and da da da. No, we're saying think about how you filter. Yes. and do it in a way that's going to actually make the change.
Yes.
So instead of like not saying anything because you're afraid, you put it through that filter. Okay, is it true? Is it kind?
Is it necessary?
And you know what? I do feel like it's necessary because look at what's going on here, and I was put here to try and be one of these change makers. So I need to say this. So if you can say yes to all three of those questions, then have at it. Especially the
Yes.
kind one, right? Especially the kind one.
Absolutely. The
And
kind
keep
one's
it in the
huge.
that you in the eye.
Right. I think the biggest part, whether we even realize it or not, is forcing yourself to put it through this filter, even with those three things, is that it slows us down. It slows down.
We're impulsive people.
Yes.
We love to just do it. Just do it.
Jump right
It
in.
feels so good.
Exactly. For a
Patience
momentary-
also takes maturity.
It does. It does. And I think that
Sleep on it. Right.
sleep on it, all of those things where again, we don't think of what the long term you toss that rock in the pond, how it's gonna ripple. We just don't always think about that. So using
Yeah.
this very basic, very simple, and I didn't even realize it was a Buddhist philosophy. I love that. I love it. These questions of asking these very basic questions, it's gonna slow the momentum down of before we just toss that rock into the pond.
We also say, recovery here a lot. Pause. Pause and pray.
Pause and pray.
Pause and pray. Count to 10. Take a deep breath. Maybe
Yes.
remove yourself from the situation.
Mhm.
Right? You get the text message and you're like, oh, put the phone away. Discipline yourself to put the phone in the drawer.
Yeah.
Walk away. Go do something else. Right?
Anything. for just
Anything.
2 minutes even.
Or you get the email and you want to shoot it right back.
Ugh.
You know what? Type it out. Make sure you delete the 2.
Put it in
Take
draft.
out the 2, right? So that doesn't automatically mistakenly send. I've had that happen before. Wasn't great. I received an email I was not supposed to get years ago when I was working in Manhattan. And although she was right, I think she had a point. It wasn't meant to go to me, and it really hurt. But anyway, type the email, save it in your drafts.
Yes.
Save it in your drafts. Leave it for a day or two. It's going to look different, right?
It
Everything
is.
looks better in the morning.
Feel different.
Like it's going to feel different. We promise you, if you do not respond with these knee-jerk reactions, you are doing so much better for the earth and for the world and for yourself
everything.
and for everybody than just responding with this impulsive ego response.
Exactly.
But they need to hear it.
On top of, you guys, let's keep in mind that the people that are still walking around, even some of the people you love dearly that are still walking around very asleep, they're in a way looking to get the reaction out of you anyway. They don't even realize necessarily what the cycle that they might be creating. They do know, however, if they post this one political thing on Facebook, they know for sure there's 3 or 4 family members that are absolutely going to respond.
Oh my God. They're doing
don't-
it to get a response. That's
Yes.
what I'm saying. They're the inciters.
Yes, they're doing it to get a response and they may not even be aware. That's the thing. And when you don't respond, that's going to cause them.
That's more. That
Let's
is
be more.
going to get them right in the. I really have a potty mouth. I was just gonna say something. You guys, you gotta figure it out.
In the balls?
Yeah, right.
I'll say it. I'll say it.
So that's gonna get them
Yeah.
more by
Yes.
not responding because that's what they want. They
Well, they gain
want-
something
they're
from
baiting
that.
you.
Yes, and it's not because, again, I don't think that every single person on the planet is just this evil human. I think that we are constantly searching for, we've already said it, but validation. We're constantly searching for this validation. So people are searching for, well, it's almost like there's a power in being able to create a storm, to be able to create this reaction out of someone. And
There's even more power in diffusing it.
yes, that's the point. That if you can just not, if you don't, add to that flame, that individual is left to sit with themselves and say, why didn't they react? And maybe to question, well, why did I want them to react anyway? And that in itself, when we discuss and speak about, we don't have control. As much as I would love to go out into the world right now and solve every war and every disagreement, and I would love to be able to make sense and justify everyone's actions, I know that I cannot. And in fact, every day that continues to go by if I'm happening to listen to the news or anything else, something worse has happened today.
Yeah.
Something even more treacherous, right? But we do have control.
Yes.
We do have control right here, from right here, this little space, what we decide to do. If we can 100% tap into and use to the best way possible what we can do right here, that's going to have again, the rock in the pond, those ripples are going to go way further than me trying to go, hey, I want that ripple. I want it to go all the way out there in the pond, way out there. Well, that's not going to happen unless you drop the rock from right here. Drop the rock.
A recovery peeps.
It is.
Not drop the rock.
Yes.
So, I was thinking about this the other day. How, like, what is happening right now? Really, if you think about it, a month from now, a couple of months from now, even a week from now, there's going to be something else. There's going to be something else, like Ginny said, like even personally in your life, right? Somebody does something and you are so heated and you gotta, if you just diffuse it, send them love, give them a neutral statement. I'm sorry you're feeling that way, whatever it is.
Yes.
Just go on with your day, right? If you're not so emotionally affected, we talk about this too. It's not going to affect you so much to that point. But if you think about it, if you don't do that, the next thing is going to happen. And that thing a week ago that you were pissed off about, you're not going to remember. It's not
No.
even going to be like a thing anymore,
No.
right?
No.
So think about the long term. This is another mature principle. Take the long view of how am I going to feel if I do this? If I respond in this heated, nasty way,
Yes.
or if I don't? What is that relationship going to look like a month from now, a year from now? And let that be your guiding principle. Of
Yes.
what that, and this happens too, not just like collectively, but like personally, especially like I know a lot of people watching us are in recovery.
Yes.
And we deal with other addicts in our life, right? We have a lot of people in our life.
We're a real hoot. Us alcoholics and addicts. We are a hoot. We're a hoot. I tell you.
And we have, we get sober, some of us, and then our eyes are really wide open to the pain that other people are causing themselves and the people around them. And
Yes.
we want to speak up and we want to say something, and rightly so. I mean, many of us can see the train going down the track.
Because we've been on
Yeah.
the track.
Yeah. And
Derailed from the track.
yeah. And we feel that we have a duty responsibility to offer this wellness and sobriety to other people. And you might be right. Most likely what you're watching is it is detrimental.
They could their life fit. We all know. I know. We know that you've lost family members to this disease and addiction of one way or another.
And it's so painful. So you're trying to avoid that from happening again. And, my own personal experience with that is it never worked out well.
When you're offering the advice, you mean?
Yes. If somebody comes to me and asks me for advice, that's when I can give it. Very lovely.
Not just, hey, by the way, I've done all this work and I'm sober, so I'm going to go
because
ahead.
it comes off as I've been called holier than thou. You're judging me. You think you're better than me. All that kind of stuff. Because when people are in active addiction, they really can't see it.
No.
So the best thing that I can do, if there are, my situation, there was a minor involved, and I felt very strongly that I needed to safeguard this child.
Yes.
So I tried, and it did not work out well. And eventually I had to just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
I had to just let it go, put that situation in God's hands. And, I remember when my brother passed away, for those of you who just tuning in and don't know my story, my brother passed away from drugs 5 years ago. And long time ago, probably 10 years ago, I was sitting with my sponsor and I was crying and I was like, he's suffering again. He called me last night and I'm going to get him to a rehab. Da, 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 da. I don't know what to do, but she said, well, what are you going to do about it? And I said, I'm going to pray for him to get sober. And she said, no, you're not. And I was like, what? And she was like, you're going to pray for the acceptance of whatever God's will is for him.
Oh, man.
And that was like, what is she, first, right? What is she talking about?
Right.
Of course I want my brother to get sober. But on my journey since then, and that was about 10 years ago, I have learned that I am not in charge of other people's soul paths.
Boy, and we would love to be, right? Especially when it comes to a situation where we know we might be in pain from their choices, if it means that they might die.
Yeah, it's like, I have a solution. I have a solution. Just
Yes.
do this. Just
Yes.
please, just do this.
But it's ultimately to avoid your
it's a party. Yes.
right? Is what your sponsor was getting at in a way.
But the acceptance is almost, to me, praying for acceptance is almost like a preparation, which works really well for me because if you guys don't know, I'm a pain prepper.
She's a big time pain prepper.
You know, like those like end of the world preppers. I'm like,
She's a pain
prepper. I'm
She
like,
really
you know
is.
what? See you coming.
Yep.
I'm just gonna prepare myself now.
She wrote a whole book about it.
Yeah, I did. So if you
You should go get it.
yeah, and I was writing, that just came out of me.
Yes.
I'm a pain prepper.
I like that. You really are, though.
I am, you know, and this is another generational dysfunctional thing that was passed down or whatever in an effort to protect me and to protect ourselves, right? So I
Preservation.
pull some distance and I do what I got to do, you know. I actually have like 60 cans of beans in my pantry, by the way. So I'm also another kind of person.
She's like, I got the beans.
We got Flint. We got a generator. Got it all. They got the.
I know where to
I got
go.
the Belgian Malinois sitting,
Ah,
sitting in the room
yep,
over there.
yes, I know where I'm at.
Anybody's coming to get me. No, just kidding. So, anyway, yeah, just get a dog, people. Just get a really scary dog. Put the guns away and get a really scary dog. But anyway, so, the pain prepper, you know, for that is it's a healthier way for me to almost prepare for what did eventually happen.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, I still tried. I still tried for a good 3 or 4 years after that to help him and to do this and to send him quotes from you know,
Whatever.
literature,
Program
recovery
things.
literature, program stuff, songs, lyrics.
I wonder too, though, Amanda, and I think about this a lot. We almost have to feel like there's a sense of at least we tried to, right? So that you don't live in this regret,
Exactly.
maybe.
That's what I was going to say next is we try. We say, okay, listen, I see this. I see what's happening here and I'd like to help you. You know, if they say, take a hike, you got to
Yes,
walk away.
take
You
a
got to
hike.
respect that. You got to respect what other people's wishes are for you to
Right.
leave them alone.
Their
Took
path.
me a really long time.
Their path, their journey.
My brother never really told me to leave me alone. The other person I was talking about, the child involved, she let
She
me
did.
know numerous times, leave me alone. And I finally have.
Right.
And sometimes I question that. Is that right? Is that not right? You know, but ultimately I do have to know, okay, I tried. I did the best I could. And then after that, then we have to let people just live and allow their souls to take them where they need to go. Hopefully it
Exactly.
will be into recovery or whatever else is going on in people's lives. Hopefully they'll find some health and wellness and all that.
Right. But there's no way that's part of where this all comes into play as well, too, right? Where we don't have the ability to change. We don't have the ability to change anyone, by the way, ever. So again, if we're sitting here and pounding into the, we're going to drill away at the words I'm using to tell this person, you're effed up again. Oh my gosh, you fell from being sober again. Oh my gosh, somebody had to take you out of jail, again.
That's like shaming, and that's like going to make them feel even worse.
Well, and the
Saying
words,
things like
coming back to the words, is it necessary? Is it
using
kind?
your words.
Is it, is it necessary? Is it necessary to, your loved one who might be going through this, who has their DUI, he knows.
Yeah, they're aware. They might
Yes.
act like they're not when they're telling you to get lost,
Yes.
but they know somewhere in the back
Yes.
of their minds.
But I can see where, and I know for myself too, just because it feels like we're all continuing to lose more and more people to addiction. And as the world continues to feel brutal at times, I feel like people cross that bridge. We've had since 2020, since COVID, since all of that, it's always been happening. I feel like we've had this escalation in it. So this concept, these principles are really going to come in handy for you, as well as you've noticed that you've got more and more friends and loved ones that are crossing that bridge of, they used to be the social drinker and now you know that they're no longer, they're drinking all day long. keep the same concepts.
Say it lovingly,
Right.
express your concern. And if they
Yes.
tell you to back off, you have to back off, no matter how bad the situation is.
Yeah.
Right? So like Ginny said, say it kindly, if it when the
Mhm.
time is necessary, state your truth, state you're worried, I'm worried about you. I love you. There's help available if you ever want it. I'm here for you. And that's it.
Right. And leave it at that.
Planting a
It's-
seed.
Yes, planting that seed. I feel like this same concept applies quite a bit too, because I know many of you out there have a brother, have a sister, have a best friend who's in a really toxic relationship. And you
Yes.
really want to tell
Take
them
this stuff and apply it to whatever's going on in your life right now because it's so
it's
universal.
going to be universal in just about anything. Or the person who just keeps complaining about the job they hate, or the person who just keeps complaining, how do we, it becomes very, I recognized this about myself when I was younger, and I think again it was just a family thing too. I think my siblings and I had this habit or way of or survival tactic of let's feed into it and keep the story going, whether that be difficult childhood. Again, is it kind? Is it? And I'm saying them out of order. Is it true? What is it? Is it
True,
kind,
kind,
is it true?
necessary.
Kind or necessary? Is it true that I had this heart thing when I was 11? It is. Is it kind that I need to bash somebody who was taking care of me at that time for their lack of being able to do so?
Yeah, for the rest
Sure.
of my life, do I need to relive
Right.
that?
Do I need to
story?
relive it? Or is it necessary now? And some of those persons, yeah, it's true. Okay. Is it necessary? Is it necessary for me to?
Probably not.
Probably not.
And a lot of times people do that, I think, to feel closer to each other.
Right.
I think there's like that bonding thing that goes on when you can
Yes.
sit around and rehash and rehash and rehash when it's just like no. My therapist had a really good thing she said to me once. She said, I can put the medicine on the spoon and I can hand it to you or to a client or whatever. It's up to you to drink the medicine. It's up to you to take the medicine, right? The whole like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
So we can present a solution to somebody if we really feel that otherwise they might die, right? Or that something really terrible is going to happen. Really feeling compelled to do that. But if they don't want it, they don't want to get out of that toxic relationship. If they don't want to, change their living situation or whatever it might be, there's a million things that we think we know people can do better, right?
Exactly.
I know how you can live, but what it really is detrimental, you really, feel like you need to say something. Say it again, lovingly. Hope that they take the medicine. If not, maybe they took the bottle of medicine, they put it in their cabinet, medicine cabinet. Maybe they'll open up that medicine cabinet again one day and see the medicine sitting there. And because you did it lovingly and with kindness, they're more likely to come back to you and ask you for your help.
Absolutely.
That's it
Versus
too.
shutting down.
Again, the long view. How
Versus shutting
I'm interacting with them. What could potentially be an outcome in the long term?
Absolutely. And I think that, and if you're a lot of the time too, I think when we're handing out advice, there are very likely often times we're needing to hear the advice ourselves.
Yeah.
Just that idea of projection. And there are many times where what we're trying to dish out or what we think is necessary to dish out is actually something we are trying to teach ourselves or tell ourselves. That happens a lot. And oddly enough, when that is the case and you realize that and you realize this wasn't necessary for me to share with this person, as a matter of fact, I'm realizing this has to do with me. Then when you take the medicine, because you realize it was actually you that needed to take the medicine, there's a really good chance the person who might also benefit from the medicine takes it later too.
Yes.
Because
Be
you've
a
given it
power
to
of
yourself.
example.
Action.
Be an example. Your example of living well is going to affect them. Oh, sorry, people. Just a little
timer.
second there. I don't know what's going on there.
There we go.
Okay.
Little timer action.
Yeah. That was a nice little.
So is it time to run your mouth and say something that's not necessary, loving, or kind? Yeah. I'm like, thank you, iPhone. It's true. So, but you're right. It's we were talking about what
Like
we were,
projecting, and that you being the
yes.
example of just living that way is going to leave a bigger mark on somebody. They're going
Yes.
to remember that and how you're living because you're going to be a safe place now. They
Right.
know that when they need the help, that you are living in a way that is attractive to them, in a way that is, wow, yes, how did she do that?
Right.
How did he do that? Right? So instead of trying to like cram your solution down somebody's throat,
Right.
the best thing you can do is just be it
Mm-hmm.
and live it, and don't burn a bridge, so that make sure that they know that the door is always open.
Yes.
And I think that's the most powerful thing that you can do.
Well, it is. And the thing is, it's so easy to burn a bridge in these moments where we do just run something and this energetic, just flood of words comes out of our face. And it wasn't necessary or it wasn't
Yeah.
kind.
No.
And all of a sudden we burn that bridge that later on might have been the bridge somebody used to cross to get that help or come to you about something, but we burned it because instantaneously we didn't use
We
that
could
filter.
control ourselves. It's all about self-control and discipline. We do not talk enough about self-control and discipline. That is what this whole life is about. You know, and I was thinking about how we as humans feel very uncomfortable in uncertainty.
Yes.
We want things buttoned up.
Yes.
I had somebody point that out to me years ago, and I couldn't understand what she was saying until about 6 months later, it clicked. I was like, I get it. She was right. I need to know where I stand with people. I am not okay having a relationship that's just hanging out there.
You're not sure what is happening.
I need closure.
Interesting. Yeah.
I need to know everything's okay.
Yes. Or that it's over, not that it's in
It could be over.
an
Yeah.
arranged
Yeah.
situation.
Exactly.
I love that, and it's fascinating because I come from like serial passive aggression, like passive aggressive situations where it's almost like, no, I don't really need to know. I don't need to know what that person is really thinking, or
So
I'm not
you're
really going
okay.
to tell them.
You're okay. But I'm down.
Yes.
Well, being out there, like, and not actually
Somewhat.
knowing.
Well, here's the deal.
I'd rather know.
I'm
myself.
not okay with it. However, I'm going to end up not saying anything probably. So I end up internalizing it. And, are you kidding me? It's like in present time. It's happening in a couple of
So it's
situations.
the same thing. Anxiety is still
Yes.
there.
It
You just
is.
might not act on it, whereas
Right.
I usually do act on it.
Yes.
And I try to just keep
Pecking and pecking and
I
pecking.
need the answer. Yeah, tell me, talk to me, tell me, stuff like that.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
speaks to this whole, how is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? When I'm saying that, when I'm trying to get that closure
Right.
or whatever, how am I going about doing that? And do I really need to do it? Is it necessary? Do I really need to have that closure? I don't.
For the benefit of everyone, or is it just that you're doing it for whatever piece you're trying to find and not necessarily for the whole?
Yes. Is it selfish? Is it more uncompassionate to not be thinking about their very clear message to me to back off?
Right. And they're trying to not spew words maybe of hatred at you.
Yes. Then they think that if I can just
Oh.
shut this down and just avoid
Yes.
her or him or the situation, that's the kindest thing to do. And sometimes it is. Right.
Right.
So
It's the most humane thing.
I love music. And the song that comes to mind with this is Let It Be by the Beatles.
Great song.
Freaking classic.
Yes.
I remember one day I was in the car and my daughter was like 4 or 5 at the time, and my oldest daughter. So this is like 7, 8 years ago. And Let It Be was on, and it was over. And she said, "Mommy, play that again. I love that song."
Oh.
And I was like, "Yes,
We're doing something right.
Sure, parenting win right there."
Absolutely.
But I have to learn to just let things be. So yeah, I'm learning along with you people. Again, we always
We
say
all
this.
are.
This
We-
is not like I'm from some spiritual hilltop
No.
or some life success because
No. We're trying
No.
to figure it out alongside with you. And we feel like in the world we live in right now, it's very easy for all of us to put our best foot forward on Facebook and, be like, "Oh, Barrett, look at her. What's up? Awesome." And meanwhile, you're all jacked up from whatever interactions you might have had.
everybody's all jacked up right now.
Everybody
Just
is.
from what happened in Israel, we're all experiencing secondary trauma.
Everybody.
If you've seen any of those images, if you've listened to anything that's gone
And-
on, and this is happening over in COVID,
Everything.
you create every major life tragedy world tragedy. You
Yes.
can hide in your house. You could not look at it. It is affecting you, but it's affecting the energy. So
In
we're
the whole-
all walking
yes.
around jacked up.
We are walking around jacked up because we have thousands of people leaving the planet. And that's happening too with natural disasters, which is also terrifying, or there's a sense of it. But when it's happening at the hands, and it's not saying one side or the other, you guys, it's not a matter of
No.
that. It's talking about human lives being taken from the earth by our own hand. Like we're doing this stuff to each other as human beings. Like there's no way you're not going to feel that. No matter whether you relate to, agree with, it doesn't matter. There's bunches of us being ripped off the planet. And that's very challenging. And there's no way you're not dealing with the feeling of that. Everything is just charge. There's a lot of emotional charge of everything. But again, we can't control all of that. However, we can control and we can help try to heal, teach you how to heal ourselves, figure out how to heal these interactions, at least that we're having with these. Well, you talk about the six degrees of separation, the ones that are right here. Because if I can at least, if I can affect this degree, if I'm like Amanda, this is how I'm going to work with, how I'm going to approach this situation. If it's kind, true, or necessary, Amanda might turn around and her next degree of separation to a human being or someone else, she might be different because I was different.
Yes. Like you're in a store. I think about this a lot when I'm out. Like my interaction with somebody could change their whole day.
Right. The
Just
cashier
opening
behind
up
the
door
register.
for somebody.
Right.
Just doing something kind for somebody.
Exactly.
Or speaking kindly, doing whatever, they could be out there having this terrible day. So we play this, I don't know if I've talked about Operation Connect.
I don't know. I don't think so.
So during COVID, I had this, it was like December and it was like depressing.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And we went out to run some errands and I said, girls, we're going to play a little game. It's called Operation Connect. And what that is, you try to make eye contact with anybody you see, anybody passing you. And so we had our masks on.
Oh, yeah.
So it was kind of hard to smile. But
Oh, my gosh.
we got the eyes.
It's a challenging game you had going.
We had the eye smile down pat though. We were like, you see my wrinkles? See how I'm smiling like this?
So they could see behind the mask. Which impacted our dealing with each other.
And we actually had to go like this because we couldn't smile.
Oh.
So we smiled and we waved. And of course, we got two cute little girls, doing it with me.
That's going to help.
A cute big girl.
She's real cute.
And people smiled back and they waved back.
Right.
And just something that tiny can lift the spirit of somebody and the energy of the place that you're in. The supermarket, right? I mean, if we're just think about that, how amazing it would be. Here we go in my kumbaya state. But if we were all just paying attention to each other and being a little bit more courteous, not even everybody. Listen, you can't be walking around all day long just saying hi. You gotta live. You gotta get shit
There are some real a-holes around there. Let's be honest.
But those are the ones that gotta try to get even more.
Yeah, it's true.
And my kids play, Mommy, I got one. I got two. I got three, and they
That's
keep
awesome.
count when we're out. We still
Yes.
do it. We still do it 3.5 years later when we're out. They're still playing Operation Connect. And I think that it's really easy, something really, really easy and simple to do.
It is.
Out in the world as you are picking out your apples or you're doing whatever, you can just say, I strike up conversations all the time with people.
Yes.
Can you believe the price of this apple cider? What is going on, right? I did not buy the apple cider, by the way.
It was so
I
expensive.
want apple juice.
Out of control.
Out of sheer principle. No, you.
It was
do it.
$27.
Not doing. I don't care if it's organic. I don't care if you just pick the apple and
Well,
stomped on it.
especially in the grocery store, you guys, because if we think about this, it's a topic of emotional inflammation as it is. You start talking to anybody about prices of anything right now, people are like, oh, that's right. Yeah. But even if it is, I've noticed too of hey, even and mean it, don't just throw something random out there that you don't mean. But the other day I told this girl had a super cool shirt on, really cool shirt.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I love your shirt.
Oh,
And I said that, yeah, I love your shirt. And she was like, yeah. And I meant it. And she was like, thanks. That's really cool.
Well, that was true. It was kind. It was necessary.
Exactly. And I think that even in that scenario where whether it's the person behind the counter, if we can have an interaction or help because they're dealing with us all day, all of us grouchy people who are pissed off everything costs too much, what difference does it make if we're able to leave them with something kind that they in turn can turn around and be kind to the next 50 people that are going to walk through that line?
Yeah.
What is that going to do to the collective, even if it's just in your little town? What is that going to do if you were able to share something?
Yeah. And with that woman that we were like commiserating over the price of the apple cider, we were laughing.
Right.
I was like, what is going on? She was like, we were like, what is going on? You know, like, just happy Thanksgiving. See you later. You know? It
Relating.
created a connection.
Yes.
And it was ultra kind of necessary.
Exactly.
Right? I didn't go into a diatribe about, you know, politics and this person and this stupid president and this inflation and this.
I've never heard anyone talk like that ever.
No, nobody say anything like that.
No, everybody is extremely happy.
Did
with
you get your
all
coffee,
things.
by the way?
Yeah,
you should have paused this a long time ago.
Yes, go get your coffee, get your tea.
Your tea.
That's
whatever
what we're doing. We're doing tea today. And we wanted this to be like you're here with us. That's the whole point.
Yes.
It's how.
Next time, grab your coffee.
Yes, absolutely. And it's how Amanda and I really started doing this thing to begin with.
Yes,
Having conversations just like this.
hanging out. So, all right. So we throw out a challenge to you guys every
Challenge.
week. The challenge is before you feel like you need to respond to somebody, not, you know, of course, if you're right in person in real time, you know, put it through that filter. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? And if you cannot answer yes to all three of those questions.
So it's not a 2 out of 3.
No. 2 out of 3.
Oh.
Bad. No, it is. It is
You have
bad.
to do
3.
all 3.
Uno, dos, tres. Have to all be thumbs up. Okay? And if they're not,
Don't say it.
zip it, lock it, put it in your pocket. Right? Like my kids said.
Zip it, lock it, and put it in your pocket.
Sometimes it doesn't work for me. Sometimes I take it out of my pocket.
And you start stabbing people with it.
My kids make me give them.
Oh, that's smart. They're like, we don't trust you with that key, Mom. We don't trust you with that imaginary key. Better hand it over, lady. Hand it over. So that's a great, but that's huge because it's going to give us again time. It's going to give you pause. Like you talked about.
Pause, pray, give yourself some time. Talk to somebody else before you
Great
respond,
idea.
right?
It's a really good idea.
Yeah. Pick up the phone, call somebody that you trust. Somebody, if you know somebody who's been through that exact situation, even better. But somebody that you respect, somebody that you trust, somebody that you admire.
That'll be objective.
Be objective. Don't call brother, you know.
Don't call Uncle Frank about Uncle Joe.
Exactly.
Because Uncle Frank's just going to slam his ass.
Exactly.
So don't do that.
Don't call people just to get the answer that you're looking for.
Right. Or to pour gasoline on the flame.
To make you feel right. Right. Call people who are objective, who are mature, and will have and are wise, and will have an answer for you, right? Because they might say, yeah, say it, you know, like address it, but do it this way. X, Y, and Z. Write about it. Right.
That's what I was just going to say. Write about it.
Right. Okay.
It's hugely effective. I don't do it enough, but it's amazing what you can sort through in your own thoughts and your feelings when you see them yourself in some type of linear.
Yeah.
Work.
You start, and you can get out the anger. Just write, just rewrite. Like nobody's gonna see it. You know that F is true. I can't believe. Make sure you write
If it's yes.
That punch you were coming to the end here, right? And by the time you get to the end of it, you know, like, I don't know, a measure of humility shows up. Some kind of like God shows up. Something happens where I don't feel good.
Or you
get it out, and then
and you're like, I'm a freaking psycho. Wow, I'm really being a little psycho about this because you have a chance to process it. But again, it's been in an arena, so to speak, that is not going to cause all this damage that you can't take back.
Yeah. So let it out, but just don't let anybody, you know, that person see that. Also, like, again, the email thing, like, write it, draft it, and leave it. Just let it sit there. Okay? 24 hours is not going to change, you know, that situation might be the same, but your view will change. So 24 hours won't change the situation necessarily, but it will change how you see the situation. And then you can still send it if you want, but I guarantee you're going to be doing a lot of deleting and a lot of adding other kind of more neutral things, neutral statements, and questions too. Questions are always really great. When you feel like you need to say something to somebody, ask them, do you think maybe this is happening because of blah, blah, blah? In my situation, that's why I felt this way. Or bring it back to yourself and ask the question and then bring it back to yourself.
Exactly. And you can't, don't do the question, do you think this is happening because you're a dumbass? Shouldn't be like that. It should not be like that, right?
Do you think this is happening because you're grieving or because you're in some kind of pain and I can feel your pain? And do you think this might be happening because whatever it is?
Is there any chance this is happening because
you gotta put some kind of effort into these kinds of conversations?
They matter.
Yes. If you want to get the outcome you're looking for. Again, so that's why you gotta check your motive with what outcome you're looking for. So all the things we basically talked about are kind of the challenge. So that checking the motives is really important to get, we always talk about getting very honest with yourself. Like, really, really ask yourself, why am I saying this? Why do I feel the need to do this? Right?
It's not always easy to listen to the answer that actually comes out. Not the one that you want to use to justify a situation, but the one that really does rise to the surface, because you will often find that your motives are not kind or true or necessary. And that is for all of us. We've all been there.
Or again, like Judy said before, that it's really about you. That's really about you. Because it's like the spiritual axiom. Whatever I see in you, right? We have a thing. I think I've said this before. Point one finger, you have three pointing back.
Yes.
Whatever you see in them, it's bothering you because there's something going on
in you.
So get super honest about that. Super honest. And I guarantee you 9 out of 10 times you're not going to have to say anything that you really think you need to say.
No, and it takes practice. That's the other thing, progress, not perfection. You're not going to automatically today just be walking into a situation and all of a sudden I'm just good. I'm behaving like
so
great. I'm just all peaceful and all the things. It's not going to happen, and that's okay. But the second you even take one step towards changing the action or how you deal with these circumstances, one tiny step, that's it. You're going to start changing the momentum.
Yep. One step in the right direction,
Yes.
Be patient with yourself. We also say, I love our slogans. It took you this long to walk into the forest. It's going to take you time to walk out, right?
Ooh,
don't expect yourself to remember this stuff, to be sitting at the table and, is it true? Is it kind of necessary? Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said right now? But the more you do that, you might get to that thought in a minute, the first time, as you're sitting there fuming, and all of a sudden it might pop up, right? Maybe 30 seconds after you practice it a while, maybe automatically as you practice it even more.
So a little bit like muscle memory, right?
Yeah,
a little bit like muscle memory.
Yeah, totally.
But it will start to help you modify and eliminate a lot of those loud, again, emotional. We're just talking about all emotional noise.
Yeah.
We have all this added emotional noise that we are adding on top of just everything the world's already going through. And if each of us can do a little bit to eliminate some of that noise, that's where we're going to make the difference in helping this world be the beautiful place that we know it is.
You matter. What you do and say out there in the world matters so much. And we might say we have no power. We have no power. No. You have a lot of power.
Way more than you even realize.
And if we all just do our little part, guess what? That adds up.
Exactly.
So, right, definitely. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for being here with us. Please join us again.
We hope you have a lovely holiday season.
Yes.
We'll be putting out another show. We're going to be doing another interview with my friend Danielle McCombs and her partner on her podcast, Christy Ollinger. Yes. They're from Opposite of Small Talk. We're going to be talking about how we partner up as podcasters. So they're partners, we're partners. What drew us to each other? Why we both feel compelled to do this kind of work. And I'm sure it will be a really inspiring conversation full of connection.
Absolutely.
Which is what we're all trying
Looking forward to that. That's going to be amazing. And as always, we know you guys can be out there listening to so many different podcasts. Yeah. We're so thrilled to have you now on YouTube. If you've found us here, thank you so much. Well, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and we're so glad you're here with us. And we can't wait to see you again.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Keep letting your
Adios.
soul rise.